Welcome to Ms. Zampano's Flipped Classroom. We are in Unit 1, the Pre-Algebra Review, and our section title is 1.9, Dividing Fractions and Mixed Numbers. The pizzazz pages we can look to find extra practice are on page 40 and 41, and we can make sure that we add our name to the top and date this. So here I'm putting my name, and make sure you put today's date. We're going to start off with some vocabulary from a previous video. So cross cancel is from 1.8, and it's a way to reduce fractions before you multiply by canceling common factors. So again, the idea here is that it's a reduction for cross canceling, and it's a factor that is both in the numerator and the denominator. So we're going to use that in this situation here in 1.9 on dividing fractions and mixed numbers. Our next word that's new for this guy a little bit is reciprocal, and a fraction in which the numerator and the denominator are flipped. So we're going to take a look at some fractions that have reciprocals, and so we'll start with their number and then show you what the reciprocal may look like. So here again is our number that we're choosing, and then its reciprocal. So if I start out with right here, and I start out with 2 over 5, or 2/5, its reciprocal is going to be flipped, and I'm going to get 5 over 2. And then if I have negative 3/7, its reciprocal is going to be negative 7/3. And if I have 6, I can make this into a fraction by dividing by 1 to get 6 over 1. And its reciprocal is 1/6 then. If I take a mixed number, I can find its reciprocal by first converting it into an improper fraction. So here is my improper fraction of negative 2 1/4 for the mixed number can be converted into negative 9 over 4. And I'm going to convert this into its reciprocal by then saying I'm going to flip the numerator and denominator and make it negative 4 over 9. So the key concepts for dividing fractions and mixed numbers, we're going to take a look at the method that's down here. So for dividing fractions and mixed numbers, I'm going to try that one more time. And our first thing is to turn all whole or mixed numbers into fractions. So we want to make sure that if we have any whole numbers or any mixed numbers, we're going to turn them into fractions. The second thing we're going to do is change division into multiplication by the reciprocal. So we can't just change division to multiplication, but what we can do with fractions is change division into multiplication if we take the reciprocal of the second fraction. And we'll take a look at and show you what this looks like in the examples once we finish all these steps. So number 3 is to cross cancel common factors in the top and bottom. And number 4 is to multiply straight across to reduce to a whole number if possible. Our math department has Mr. Livesey as our head chair, so if you would like to kind of think of this as the Edison math department idea or the rule of thumb, you're going to apply that if it began all with fractions, then it can end as a fraction. And if it began with whole or mixed numbers, we'd like to change the answer into a mixed number if possible. So now that we've taken a look at the key concepts that we have to offer, again, we're looking at different ways to end up dividing fractions and mixed numbers. So let's go ahead and take a look at our first couple of examples. So in this situation, we're again dividing fractions and mixed numbers together. And our first setup for the example is 6 over 11 divided by the whole number 6. So our first step then is to convert this whole number into a fraction, and we can do that by dividing it by 1. So we'll end up with 6 over 11 divided by 6 over 1. I haven't yet made this into multiplication, So I haven't taken its reciprocal yet either. So that's where this step comes into place, and we're going to head into step number 2 and actually change this to multiplication. So I'm going to leave the first fraction the same, and let's back up because that went fairly quickly. So I'm going to leave the first fraction the same, and then I'm going to multiply and take the second fraction here, so this fraction right here of 6 over 1, I'm going to take its reciprocal and have it as 1 over 6. Now at this stage, I can take a look and say, are there any ways in which I can cross cancel? So this is step 3. So the 6 is both a common factor in the numerator and denominator, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel those together and multiply straight across, and 1 times 1 gives me 1, and 11 times 1 gives me 11. Next I'm going to take a look at another example. This example is going to have a mixed number and actually 2 mixed numbers divided by each other. So the first mixed number is -5 and 1/4 divided by 6 and 2/3. So let's go ahead here and convert both of these mixed numbers into improper fractions so we can organize that a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and multiply and add. So for each of these fractions, I'm going to ignore if it has a negative sign until the very end. For the first fraction, for -5 and 1/4, I'm going to multiply 4 times 5 and add 1 to get 21. And for the second, I'm going to multiply 3 times 6 and add 2 in order to get 20. So I do get 2 improper fractions, so -21 over 4 divided by 20 over 3. At this point, all I've done is step 1. I've converted my mixed numbers into improper fractions. Step 2 is when I make the change into multiplication, leaving the first fraction the same, and taking the reciprocal of the second fraction. Be really careful here. When we have division, we don't want to cross cancel yet at all, even though it looks really tempting. So you might see this 21 and 3 and say, hey, I know that has a 3 in common. And similarly, the 4 and 20 also have common factors as well. Please do not cancel yet. You can only cancel when you're multiplying these pieces. So first we have to convert this into multiplication by taking the reciprocal of the second fraction. So we'll end up with -21 over 4 times 3 over 20. Now, in this stage, I can take a look and see if there's something I can cross cancel. Unfortunately, there's nothing that I can simplify, so we're going to simply multiply straight across. And -21 times 3 is -63, and 4 times 20 is 80. So I'm left with the fraction of -63 over 80, which cannot be reduced any further. So, taking a look at what we have to offer, we can't simplify any of these further, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at examples 3 and 4 on the back. So when you get a chance, take a look and title your section title on the back. So 1.9 is divide fractions and mixed numbers. Please add that in. And we're going to go ahead and show you 2 more examples and then have 2 try on your own examples. So the third example we're going to show you is -7 over 5 divided by -3 and 1/3. So our first step is to convert any mixed number or whole number into an improper fraction. So I'm going to go ahead and do that by ignoring the negative, multiplying 3 times 3 and adding 1. This will give me the fraction of -7 over 5 divided by -10 over 3. At this stage, now I get to change this into multiplication by taking the reciprocal of the second fraction, leaving that first fraction alone. So I'm going to get negative 7 over 5 times negative 3 over 10. And now I get to look to see if there are any common factors, and in fact, there is a common factor in the numerator and denominator based upon the negative 3 and the positive 3 that I'm taking a look at. So the negative 3 and the positive 3 have something in common. They have a 3. So there are 1 3's in 3, and there is a negative 1 3 in negative 3. And I'm going to multiply straight across from here, and 2 negatives give me a positive. So I do get an answer of positive 7 over 10. Our fourth example is going to incorporate some fractions, so just simply fractions. 12 over 20 divided by negative 3 over 14. And in this case, we're going to definitely take a look at what our options are for cross-canceling, but we can't do that at this stage. So be really conscious that you don't cancel, okay? So we're going to leave that first fraction the same and have it as 12 over 21, and multiply by the reciprocal of the second, which is negative 14 over 3. At this stage, I can look to see what cross cancels, and luckily enough, we have a 12 and a 3 that can cancel, along with the 21 and the negative 14 have a common factor of 7. So let's take a look at this momentarily. So let's start with the 12 and the 3. They both have a 3 in common, so I can have 4 3's in the 12 and 1 3 and 3. 21 and negative 14 both have 7 in common, so I'm going to cross those out and provide a 3 for the 21 and a negative 2 for the negative 14. Multiplying straight across, I get negative 8 over 3, which can be back converted, to negative 2 and 2/3. Now in this case, I didn't need to convert this. Either one of these answers would have been appropriate. However, when you take a look at Pizzazz, page 40 and 41, sometimes they do not provide answers that are in improper fractions, and they often will, on their own accord, request that you convert them in order to check your answer. So Pizzazz has a lot of great opportunities for us to use the answer keys there and see if our answer is reasonable just based on if we have an answer option available. So be aware that if you keep it in a fraction form, that your answer option on Pizzazz page might in fact be in a mixed number. We're going to have a couple of try on your own examples for you to do next, so please take a careful look and try these on your own. The attempt is the important piece. It is not about accuracy, and we will go over each one of these in class next time. So our first try on your own is 4 over 7 divided by 1/2. And our second try on your own is a mixed number divided by a fraction. So example 6 is 6 and 2/11 divided by negative 6 over 5. Please be sure to take a look at those, and I will go over them with you in class as a whole group. Thank you for your time. See you next time.